Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. I'm Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of March the 24th, 2025. Now, this could be potentially a life-changing week of astrology for multiple reasons. But keep in mind, some of these are blessings, some of these are challenges. Most of it is just about change. It's about being adaptive to change. So, steady yourself as you enter this week. Be grounded, be wise, and slow down with anything that you can slow down. Remember, we still have Venus and Mercury walking together backwards through the sky. Mars is indeed moving forward, but is still traversing the pathways that he has already walked over. So we are looking towards May to get some resolution, so there will be some unsteadiness. There is also this just maximum amount of energy focused at the very end of Pisces, the very last sign of the Zodiac. And remember, we call the last degree, which is the 29th degree of any sign, the anaretic degree. This is a culmination degree. This is a push to completion. This is I have to hurry up, tidy up, deal with everything that needs to be done here because I'm moving on to the next thing. So there can be a push to completion. You could have the sense that things that you maybe can't linger anymore. You have to do something. But remember that we're still redoing a lot of things, reconsidering, rethinking, restructuring. And some of the things that will happen this week, especially that movement of Neptune into the sign of Aries, is not a one and done, okay? This is going to be a wave. And so it's important to think of it in terms of surfing or floating or working with the energy. Indeed, very much any kind of sailing or surfing metaphor will work very well for the energies here. So you must stay nimble, you must adapt to the current weather conditions, and you must have yourself equipped with the proper things to function within that state. And so functioning well in the Piscean world means being tuned into intuition, having time and space to think, to contemplate, but also to feel and to intuit. It requires creativity, it requires empathy and gentleness, receptivity, and putting yourself in the right environment because that Pisces energy soaks up whatever it's around. We also must be preparing for the energy of Aries, which is the energy of action, which is the energy of enthusiasm, which is the energy of the youth, the childhood, the early adolescence, this kind of like can-do attitude, this almost fearlessness, right? So it's like, I feel like Pisces brings in all the fears, all the uncertainties because things aren't clear. And then Aries brings in this almost irrational sense of positivity. And so we must balance the two this week. Now remember, we still have this lovely little connection between Saturn, which is our structural planet, and Uranus, the planet of the higher octave of Mercury, related to technology and broader thinking. The Uranian impulse is very future oriented. It's freedom loving. It is has a certain electrical magical edge to it. And so to have those two in a harmonious sextile, which is just a blessing aspect, they stay in sextile all this week, and then they get even into a stronger combination next month. This is something to really monitor and watch because magical thinking helps. Look for the clues. Look for the, oh, well, that seems interesting. Well, that was quite a coincidence. No, it wasn't. It was a signpost. See it for what it is. And Mars, in fact, will step into that fabulous flow of energy as well. And so Mars is getting a little extra push. You'll understand maybe why there was a little bit of a delay with certain things in the Cancer or Leo areas of life, because here comes an influx of potential magical moments. Or even just, sometimes I get the image with Saturn of it just being like the concrete truck pulling up, right? You've been building the foundation, but here's the thing that's actually going to make it firm and steady and lasting. It's going to, the concrete foundation is going to finally be poured, and then you can build something upon it. There's a saying, right, from the Bible, build your house on a rock. And so that's something that we'll be looking for, because it's been so hard to build anything on a rock because of all the volatile retrogrades and changes. So we're looking for ways that we can solidify the things that we want to keep, let go of the things that are leaving, and maybe even dream a new dream, because it could bring in all these magical possibilities that we never even considered. All right. Keep in mind also, we are in between eclipses. We are sandwiched between the two eclipses. And this week we have the Aries eclipse. This eclipse includes some tension, right? And remember, eclipses are kicked up moons. This is a new moon, so new beginnings in the Aries area of life. And we may feel it as like a one big wave of energy, that eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries, and then the movement of Neptune into Aries on the 30th, the very next day. So it might be hard to kind of discern those two events because they'll be in the same area of life for you in a general sense. And so this is really big new beginnings, really like the whole new chapter is starting. And we get to read the first page of it this week. All right, so let's dive into the week day by day. Now we start the day on the 24th, and the sun is going to swallow Mercury. So Mercury is moving backwards, pretty close to Venus. They're all kind of lined up there. The North Node is there too. So again, volume is up, an intense amount of energy. And whenever the sun is close to Mercury, you may even see this in your natal chart. If you have your Mercury within a degree or two of your sun, your Mercury is considered to be combust. The bright light of the sun blots out the energy, and it takes a lot more work to get your voice heard, to get clear in your mind about things. So we may feel that influence as we enter the week. And then when that moment of empowerment comes, that Kazemi point is what we call it, when the sun and Mercury, or the sun and another planet, come to the exact degree and minute with each other, they meld together. There can be just this incredible, oh, aha, breakthrough. Now I get it. Oh, the answer has appeared. So watch for that on Monday. On Tuesday, Mercury will move into a beautiful blend of energy with Pluto. And so this is also something to observe. This could feel really empowering. This could feel like you can see the future, catch a glimpse of what the next thing is, how you need to adapt and change to what's coming. And then on the 26th, we have a significant moon void. So I want you to watch out for that. It's for 6:15 a.m. on the East Coast until 3:31 p.m. East Coast time. So please adapt that for your time zone so that you don't make a big commitment or sign a contract or something during that time. It is wonderful for creative work, so use it as so. On the 27th, Venus, remember, she's still moving backwards as well, and she is going to move back into Pisces. Well, of course, as soon as she does that, she's going to immediately encounter Neptune. Now, of course, they're very close together, but when they come together in the same sign at that very last degree, well, this might reveal something even more deep about the whole Venus retrograde cycle to you. What's going on with love relationships? What are you passionate about right now? Where's your moral compass being reset? You know, what's important? What do you value? I think it's really important to explore that from a personal sense instead of a collective sense, right? You've got to live your life in accordance with your values, what you think is important, right? Your society might tell you, oh, you know, you need to own this and you need to buy that and you need to possess all these things, and your true value might lie somewhere else. So there could be a lot of discernment going on regarding that. I think also that this, the Venus retrograde in Pisces, it should, my hope is, that even that with Neptune there, we might deeply connect to the people that are suffering right now and have some tenderness, some empathy, and enough drive and value to do something about those people so that we can help them, so that we can be of use, right? All right. Now, on the 28th, Mars in Cancer begins to pick up that trine to Saturn and to Uranus. Or trine to Saturn, sextile to Uranus. Trine to Saturn, sextile to Uranus? Hang on, I'm going to look. Yeah, Mars is trine to Saturn, sextile to Uranus, right? Because Uranus is sextile to both. Just confirming, just taking a quick look at the chart. So yeah, I feel like, because Uranus is in Taurus, this has been just this huge renovation process of the Earth herself about money and finance and all the things that we value. I've watched people shift and change what's important to them over these last few years. You know, we had this real deep period about accumulation of things, right? And then we began to come into minimalism, right? And now we're coming back into, I think, a little bit more of a practicality involved with things like that. But it's also applying technology to all of those things. And we're beginning to maybe see, connecting to Saturn, some of the benefits, some of the good things we can do with that. And with Mars, how we can also take care of things, Mars and Cancer. We can nurture, we can cultivate, we can make our homes better. We have to pick and choose how we're going to utilize the technologies that are coming through. And we're also seeing the shadows of how that technology can be used, and we are looking for those pitfalls to avoid and looking to embrace the positive use of those technologies. So more of that coming up at the end of the week. And then on the 29th, our new moon solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries. It is at 6:58 a.m. Eastern, if you would like to ritualize it. Again, with eclipses, this is not like major manifestations because it's too much. It's just too much energy. So know where early Aries is in your chart and just hold the space around a new beginning in that area of life. About feeling enthusiastic about it, embracing those positive Aries qualities. Now, that is also the day that Mercury, in its retrograde motion, goes back into Pisces and immediately meets Neptune. So they're both really at the very, very tail end, because the next day at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern, Neptune moves into the sign of Aries. So I still think there will be a lot of confusion. I think there will be uncertainty. There will be a lot of swirling rumors and ideas. The movement of Neptune into Aries is a moment of change that we all need to observe in the collective. It's from going, from a sign that Neptune loves to be in. Neptune has been incredibly powerful in the sign of Pisces. Also, we've not really handled the energy of Neptune in Pisces really well as far as humanity is concerned. We have fallen into the shadow of the Piscean dream in many ways. We must try to see this new energy of Neptune into Aries as empowering, as an opportunity to step forward, to be stronger, to become stronger, to be more clear. That is how we end the week. I will also note on that day of Neptune moving into Aries on the 30th, we do have a moon void, again, pretty substantial one, 5:18 a.m. Eastern until 4:16 p.m. Eastern. Keep that in mind because the moon will be void when Neptune moves into Aries. And so I almost wonder if this will be like we'll have one idea of what this really means. And then perhaps when it backs back into Pisces and back into Aries again, which it will do later this year, what that will kind of feel like, right? We may have two entrances of the planet that feel very different. So I'm kind of tuned in to kind of see how that feels. So you'll want to look at not just, what happens in the world at large, but you'll have to see how it affects your soul as well. And see if you can look at the Aries area of your life and think, how can you be more inspired? How can you be more creative? How can you be more attuned to the cosmos in that area of your life? So for the week, I have for the light of the week, that Saturn sextile Uranus. I still think that's really fantastic. I'm also liking the positive Mars Saturn that we have at the very end of the week. I really am feeling that as well. And I'm also really liking the Mercury sextile to Pluto. Really visionary, right? What's the new thing? What's the next thing? How are things going to evolve? How can we be more expansive in our thinking, more Aquarian in our thinking, more detached, more worried about the collective and not just us? As far as the shadow, well, that eclipse. This eclipse is a little rough. And Neptune into Aries, I definitely have my concerns about it just because of the historic tradition, or I wouldn't say tradition, but the last time that it did this in 1861, the next day, it kicked off the American Civil War. And so I do have my concerns about my country for sure. I'm also watching that Venus and Mercury touching Neptune at 29. I feel like Neptune's already going to be like kind of pressured at that degree. And then I just feel like it's It's almost like the wise, old, attuned, spiritual Neptune is there trying to finish his last meditation. And here come the kids that just came running in from Aries going, oh, but what about this? What is this? You know, that's, I don't know, that's the image that I get. So it's just kind of like surf the waves, surf the waves. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you found this useful and helpful. We do have next week, the very last day of March is Monday, and then we will be entering April. And April is has some fascinating astrology. I've been working on the membership readings, and I would say there's a couple themes. One, there's some volatile energy that actually involves asteroids. Eris, the goddess of discord, is pretty prominent next month, and Lilith, the rebel feminine, is pretty prominent next month in some of the configurations. We'll also say that there are some abundant blessings, but also some major challenges. And next month, in April, we once again have the Pluto-Mars opposition, and this is the third time. The first one was the first week of November. The second one was the first week of January. And so this is a culmination of those energies. So a certain amount of volatility to be expected with the April energy. So hopefully you'll check in with me each week to follow up on that and see how we can maximize the positive aspects and manage the difficult ones. I hope you found this useful and helpful. If you did, please comment below. It helps the channel to grow. Stick around. I'm trying something new with the tarot this week, so we'll see how that goes. Hello and namaste. I'm going to try something new with the tarot, and I, of course, would love your feedback. I feel like a lot of people feel overwhelmed with the Isis Lotus Tarot that I have been working with each week. And so I'm going to instead start, and we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to do a Celtic Cross reading each week on a specific aspect to see how we can best manage that. And that kind of came to me because of this week. We're experiencing that Neptune movement into Aries. I think that is going to be really something that we all must try to understand, wrap our brain around, wrap our emotions around, our ways of being around this new 14-year cycle that commences on the 30th. Now remember, it's going to do the dance, right? It's going to move into Aries, and then it's going to drift back into Pisces, but it recommits to Aries for 14 years in February of 2026. And I think it is a very influential shift and change. It will also be fortified, backed up by the fact that Saturn will be making this exact same change into the exact same sign in May. So this is something we really have to observe, understand, and integrate into our experience. So let's do some tarot, shall we? So the Celtic Cross is an old spread that's perfect for specific questions. And so I'm going to ask the cards for the collective. What do we need to do this week in order to prepare for the Neptune in Aries cycle that commences on the 30th? So what should we be doing to prepare ourselves? Body, mind, spirit. All right, the first card in the spread is us, and this is us, the King of Cups. So we're trying to make wise decisions. We're trying to be directive in the energy of a king, but also use our intuition and inner knowing. Now, what's affecting us, what's crossing us, is the Knight of Swords. We're also being forced to make some decisions, to have some conversations and move forward with certain things that we've been thinking about. In the past, well, it looks like for this group that listens to this video, we have been concerned about our families and looking after our people. And of course, that makes sense. In the future, Four of Pentacles, we're going to have to be really smart and savvy with our money and our time. We must be cautious. Now, we are thinking Nine of Cups that we need to lean into abundance. We need to do our gratitude practices. We need to think positive. Our subconscious mind reminds us that we also must be strong. The Strength card. We must be patient. We must be compassionate. Advice. Eight of Pentacles. So we are learning things, all right? We are going to be gaining some new skills in this new cycle. This is a part of our story, a part of our evolutionary process. You know, we're here for it. We're here to learn. We're here to absorb the lessons of this transit. And what is influencing the situation from the outside is the Six of Swords. We have been in a difficult place and we are trying to get to a better place. I would say this is true about humanity, right? We are at a crossroads at this moment and we really need to find a safer harbor. What do we want to happen? Ace of Cups. I think we're ready for some new energy. We're ready for a new influx. We're ready, to kind of try again. I literally got this image of like an archer who's been trying to hit the target, and they once again pull up the bow and the arrow and have a new focus. So I see that as the influence and the outcome. Well, interesting. Two of Wands. Well, this indicates that this will bring a crossroads of a moment to us when this change happens this week. There will be one of two ways that we can move forward. We will be fine either way, but we must choose. Now, the reader's fan, this is just a little extra information. The Sun. Whatever happens, you're becoming more of who you are. Six of Pentacles, and you need to pour time and energy into what you appreciate, love, and value. Page of Wands, there will be something interesting coming up. And the Hierophant. This is all in service of gaining wisdom. So I wish you the most marvelous week. I'd love your feedback on this. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you next week.